Hi, friends, and welcome to the season premiere of Your Bish Therapist podcast. I am so happy to be back. So today's season premiere is going to be a little different than past seasons. I am going to be sharing an episode that I recorded with Mandy that I had posted to my Patreon, and I just thought it was too good to keep it behind a paywall. So I'm going to give you guys a little update. And then you'll be able to listen to that full episode after this. Little unconventional, but hey, reasonable accommodations is the story of my life. So I am so happy to be back. Well, explain briefly, I just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And essentially what happened was my life seemed to come apart at the seams, and I couldn't cope, and I had a really hard time with my mental and physical health, and it was just a really challenging time. For those who didn't maybe hear at the end of last season, what happened was my house was under construction, which is now done, and it's beautiful and it's a privilege, and I understand that, but my house was a disaster, and that started the week my grandmother died. Now, my grandmother was 96. She lived a beautiful life. We're so grateful to have had her for so long, but quite frankly, both my grandparents, it doesn't matter if they were 150, never would have been ready for that, number one. And number two, I held her hand as she took her last breath, and watching someone you love die, it was equal parts beautiful and fulfilling, and also just horrifying and really challenging. And plus she leaves behind my grandfather, who is still alive, and he is 98. He just turned 98 in October. And without her, they were married for 75 years. And without her, he has dementia, and he's been more confused. And I am the closest person to him next to my grandmother. And so I've had to do a lot of work and caretaking for him. Now, he is in an assisted living. It's a beautiful facility. I feel really good that he's there. He's super happy, but, he needs me and I need him. And so it was just a lot to balance. And then my health was in an absolutely awful place. It's not super great now, but what I am learning to do is I'm just, playing hurt. No matter what it is, I just understand that unfortunately, due to chemotherapy that I had in the past for ovarian cancer, I've been on immunotherapy for 6 years for the chronic incurable cancer that I have now. That has taken its toll on my body. I'm probably coming up on a medication switch. I've had some cardiac issues as a result of the immunotherapy. So listen, I'm not going to go on and on because those are what my bite-sized bishes are for. I can appreciate that people sometimes, some people want to listen to the updates and some people just want to listen to Bravo. And I can appreciate either one of those things. So here's what I'm going to say. The episode that you are about to listen to is what you would get if you joined my Patreon. Now, what is Patreon? It is a site where there are 3 tiers, $5, $10, and $15, where people pay per month. And what I put on my Patreon is I do bonus content, I do no ads, I do full video, I do early releases. And the one thing that I will say I do on my Patreon that I won't do on this free podcast is I tend to get a little more personal. I maybe talk a little bit more about my personal life, about family stuff, things like that I don't feel comfortable doing on the free podcast. Why is that, you ask? Well, on the free podcast, how do I say this? People like to weaponize things that I say, things that I don't say. People like to weaponize anything I do. So on this free podcast, I am a little bit more cards close to the vest because I value my peace and my sanity. And so on Patreon, it's really like a family. We have group chats. We do group Zooms. I DM. We really do have a kiki over there. So the reason I mention this is when I go on my breaks, if you still want to hear me, or if you want to hear more personal Bish or updates or just more off the cuff, head on over to www.patreon.com/YourBish therapist. And we do group chats with the community and Zooms. We just had one yesterday. It was really fun. I tell some stories that I would never tell in front of a mic. So I spill a little bit of tea. And so if you would like to join the club, come on over to Patreon. And if not, that is no problem. Thank you for all of the ways you support me. And thank you for listening to the podcast. And the one thing I'll give a reminder of too is I'm really bad at promoting myself. So I'm going to do this at the top is if you are loving the podcast, please rate and, give a 5-star review, because what ends up happening is that I have issues on Instagram. People will just be really disrespectful and rude, and then I'll block them, and then they just are mad, and then they'll do anything that they can. So at this point, I am coming into season 6 of Your Bish Therapist, just very easy breezy, understanding that this is the way that my body is. And so the plan for the podcast this season is to do one free episode a week, no more, no less, because what I tend to do in my black and white loveliness that I love to live in is that I tend to go balls to the wall, and then I totally go dark for a period of time because I need to rest. As a professional patient, I'm not kidding. My job is, I have doctor's appointments. I have like 25 specialists. I have basically every part of my body needs some assistance in some way, shape, or form, even though, thank goodness, I still look wonderful. But it really, it's a full-time job now. So this podcast, I am trying to make it, so that I can do the episodes longer. So I'm not doing too much at the top. I'm not burning myself out. So my hope is that I'm just going to continue to keep on rolling. I might take a week off for, Christmas. I celebrate Christmas, and I might take a week off for that. But otherwise, that's the goal. And so this season, you can look forward to a couple of things. I just recorded a podcast with Mary Payne Gilbert from Pink Shade, who I love. And I'm going to be going on her podcast in a couple of weeks as well. So that episode, you can look forward to that next week. After that, we have a brand new M&M hour coming to you, where we're going to talk about all the latest and greatest. This episode that you're going to listen to in a couple of minutes, this was actually not technically an M&M hour, but Mandy came on my pod to talk about BravoCon, and then we ended up talking a little bit about Salt Lake City and some other things. And so she dropped some interesting tea that, of course, I made sure to clear with her before I posted it, because Mandy's my girl, and I'm never going to do her dirty. So that's, this episode you're going to listen to is a smidge different, but our full M&M hour is going to be week at the end of the month. And then I'm actually doing something really exciting. Amy Phillips and I, Miss Amy Phillips from Drama Darling, we are going to be doing our own M&M hour as well. We're going to, do some sort of a Drama Darling, Your Bish Therapist collaboration. I love Amy. I love podcasting with Amy. And so we're also going to throw that into the mix. And that's what I've got planned for right now. So I have a couple of things in the pipeline, but I'm just trying to be cool and take it, 1 week at a time, which is sometimes how I have to live my life. While things have been tough for me, I am working on my mental and physical health super hard. I feel really good mentally. I feel like I'm in a really great space. I'm super grateful. And, sometimes when I get really burnt out, what I don't want to do is I don't want to be angry and bitter and frustrated with a microphone pointed at my mouth, because your bish can be spicy when she's having a hard time, just like everybody. But I just really want to maintain my dignity and respect. And, there's shade and there's all of that, but I just want to be the best version of me when I am speaking to all of you. So thank you so much for coming back. Thanks so much for rejoining. I appreciate you very much. And please enjoy this episode of Melissa and Mandy talking BravoCon, Salt Lake City, and some other things. Enjoy. Hi, friends, and welcome to a very special episode of, it's not quite M&M hour, but it is an episode of Your Bish Therapist with our dear friend Mandy Slutsker. Hi, Mandy.
Hi.
Mandy is here to do us a solid because she went to BravoCon and I've never gone, and I had a million questions for her. So I thought, well, let's not also record the episode. Mandy is recovering and back to work, and I know it was a long weekend, so thank you so much for being here. And I just can't wait to hear about your experience.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat about it.
What was your experience? Like, did you have a good time? Was it like everything you'd hoped it would be? What were your thoughts on that?
I had a great experience, but I also go in with not as high of expectations. I was there 2 years ago. It was life-changing, truly. It was like, wow, I couldn't imagine it being better. And this time I was like, well, I don't want to compare it to that because that was so good. Let me just take what comes. And I love seeing the other content creators. I love chatting. I mean, my favorite part, honestly, was meeting Louis Staples in person. He's from the UK and he's a writer for Variety and Rolling Stone. So being able to like hang out with him in person was so fun. And Brian Moylan, who's another favorite. So like seeing those people really made it for me. But I had an overall really good time. I know some people were critical because it was much more corporate this year, even than the years past. So like the bathroom, for example, is sponsored by Clorox. And I think that's cute. And it has bedazzled Clorox bottles. And I think that's fine. But then it got to the point where like every installation is sponsored now. And, it's, I'm just like, okay, enough. Like, stop trying to sell me things on Wayfair that were designed by whatever housewife. Like, none of that appeals to me. That aesthetic is not my aesthetic. And, or like the T-Mobile thing. There's just so many. It felt a lot more in your face than it was previously. And people say, like, obviously back in 2019 and 2022, where I wasn't in New York, that it was like not like that at all.
Right. And it's funny that you say that because I personally do not like the commercializing. I get it, but it bothers me a little bit. And so watching BravoCon, there couldn't have been more Housewives ads, right? There was like Heather Dubrow with the Clorox, the bedazzled bottle and everything. And it was just like, I definitely understand that like Bravo is successful and all the shows we love are successful. And so I'm appreciative of that. But there is something, I don't know, that takes away a little bit for me in that. But that's just kind of how I am. Like I didn't love the Below Deck and Salt Lake thing. Like I just like want my show to be my show. But I mean, whatever. I know you're going to talk about some of this on your podcast, but like, what was some of your best moments there? Like aside from, you said meeting some of the content creators and the people that you mentioned, but like, was there anything that really stood out to you that you were surprised?
Yeah. So I got to have happy hour with Terry Maloney and Dana Weiland, I think is her name. So, which are Katie and Stassi's moms. I have known Terry. She's been listening to my podcast for many years. She's written me. We've talked back and forth. I met her 2 years ago at BravoCon. And then this time, her and Dana live in Vegas. And they're like, she was like, if you want to grab a drink off the strip, like, let's do it. And we found a time and we went and it was so nice. First of all, I just love spending time with people that are like a generation older than me. I just find them so wise and interesting. And, it's like I miss hanging out with my mom. I still hang out with her friends. So it's just like kind of, I told Terry, it was like, it's just fun to be around a mom, And then obviously Dana she's lovely. And it was a little awkward because I was like, I actually, at least Terry said, she's like, oh, Mandy actually has a dog named Stassi. Which I was like,
it's such an homage, but also, I could see. Maybe she was like, oh,
Dana
you named your dog after my child.
Hardcore dog person. I probably won't share on my podcast, which is, we did not talk about like Stassi that much. Like, we talked about their lives and, they have aging relatives and how to take care of them. And there's just a lot of like just day-to-day stuff. Dana did mention, we talked about Jax briefly. And she said, I said, well, it's just so weird that he doesn't talk to his mom. And she said, well, I can't comment on that, but I will tell you when Stassi first met his mom that she liked the dog. Stassi liked the dog. And she was like, oh, you like him? Want to have him? And that's how Stassi got the dog.
What?
She literally gave her dog to Stassi. Because Stassi was like petting it and liked it. Yeah.
Jax's mom.
Yep. Like after meeting her one time.
Well, so it's shocking to hear, but like, did that surprise you?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I thought that like, that is just such an unhinged thing to do.
It's so unhinged. It's like,
so unhinged. And
do you want to take my child home?
Yeah, we haven't seen her be unhinged on the show, right? So we were just like, oh, Jax has a normal family and he's just the weird one. His sister, and it's like, no, something's wrong with all of them.
And here's the thing. That is usually not the case. If you see someone like a Jax, there is dysfunction around them. But what a lot of families are really good at, and I think probably Jax's family too, is hiding in plain sight. People with certain levels of pathology or types of pathology, they're really good at wearing like a mask. And, they're the PTA moms and involved in the communities and all this stuff. And then behind the scenes, things are very, very different. So that's very interesting that you bring that up.
That, and it appears, and allegedly that, and this was not told to me by them, that Jax is in a long-term rehab facility, like at least 90 days.
Currently?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He hasn't posted on social media. He hasn't done anything. So that leads me to believe, and I heard from other people.
I see. I mean, I hope he is, and I hope he gets well. I mean, I don't want to be a Jax hater, and everyone deserves to be happy and to, be the best version of themselves. So I hope he can find that. But that is some hot ass tea, Mandy. Oh,
the dog or the Jax in rehab?
All of it.
The dog was insane. I have not gotten over it since she said that. And so the thing we really bonded over is like being obsessed with our dogs. And she was like, oh, where's your dog right now? I was like, oh, she's with the vet tech. Like, I'll never have her. I've never had her boarded. I mean, it's totally fine for people who do. I just like, for me, I'm like, my dog needs to sleep in a human's bed. Like when I'm gone, like with another human or like with other dogs or like with a child. Like she just needs to be around. Well, because normally she sleeps in the kids' bedroom at this vet tech. She just started doing it, and now that's where she likes to go. But I think this time there were a lot of dogs, and so maybe they all hung out together at night and like cuddled
a doggy
on the couch.
Sleepover.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute.
But I was like, I can't just leave her anywhere. And then Dana was just like high five me, and she's like, I'm the same way. Oh my God. And she was like talking about all these things that she does for her dogs.
Oh, but I wonder if like when you go to BravoCon, Stassi gets together with the rest of the dogs and is like, yo, my mom's at BravoCon and this is a lit time for me. I wonder like what their
I get to let loose now. Yeah. So funny.
That is really interesting. And I do always forget about your relationship with Terry, which is a great reminder because I feel like you and I are pretty good judges of character. And I always felt like Katie's mom, we're talking about specifically, she just seems like a really genuinely wonderful, lovely person. And Kate, at the end of the day, like she seems the same way. Absolutely.
Yeah. She's rougher around the edges. She's a little harsher with how she phrases things.
Mandy, you took the words out of my brain. I was like, she has sharper edges is what I was thinking. And her mom seems a little bit more soft.
Enjoyed talking to them, and like we spent 3 hours together.
And it just, so you had a good time? You had some drinks?
And they didn't like spill the tea that Stassi was going to be doing the reunion for Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Right. Which I'm sure contractually, you have to be really careful with that. So I saw that, and you can confirm they did not spill that tea. But now we know.
No.
Now we know.
You're talking about like other stuff. Also, Stassi's mom does jewelry. And I didn't realize that, but my friend Jody that was with me did. And she's like, wait, I have a necklace that I brought with me that she made. So I was like, wear it, see if she recognized. She recognized it within 2 minutes. She was like, is that my necklace? And then she was like telling her that like how to clean it, because she was like, oh, I was thinking of getting a new one because I think this little jerk. She's like, no, don't get a new one. This is how you clean it. This is the product. She literally took out her phone. Was like, what's your phone number? Like gave, and then was like, here, you can buy it at Target. Like it was like, I was like, maybe I want to buy her jewelry. Yeah, it's an Etsy store.
Oh, it is? Well, do you want to give a shout out? Do you know what the name of it is?
I don't know what the name of it is, but I'll give a shout out on my podcast that's coming out on Sunday, because Jody will know.
Okay, great. And then I can post about it when you do find it, because I would love to give her some business, and I also want to see that jewelry. So
The other fun thing is it sounds like whenever a new cast member comes on, they like try to befriend the mom. Because that's how they became really good friends. And so I guess they like had this time where they all went out with Max's mom. You know, Max, who was on like a one season. Yeah. And they went out dancing 3 nights in a row in Vegas, which is crazy. I was like, where are you going? Like, I haven't ever done that. I mean, not since I was in my 20s, and you're like many decades older. And it's just like, how do you guys have the energy? She was talking about how bad she felt because it was like in March of 2020, like in the first half of March of 2020. And then on the last day, she's like, I'm not feeling so great. And then she basically got COVID. But it was like before anyone knew anything. And then she's like, oh my God, I felt so bad about all. She was like, I was at Vanderpump Garden. I was like hugging everyone. She had no idea, right? It was like, and then she's like, oh my God, I was sick for 3 weeks. But I just was imagining all the Vanderpump moms like having a sleepover and Terry's hanging out.
Literally, I mean, that is kind of one of the cutest things that I've ever heard, I feel. Did they have any thoughts about the new, or did you guys talk about like the new Vanderpump show?
Yeah. I mean, they brought it up, or Terry was like, what do you think of it? I'm like, it's just kind of weird that they're like going to season 12.
To me.
Doesn't feel like a good formula. Feels like they should have like called it something else. Yeah. And Terry had a good name for what it could have been. It was like Second Shift.
That would have been genius, because here's the thing. I will tell you briefly, because I was on the fence about whether I should watch this or not, and I just feel like my heart's not in it, but I'm going to try it. One of the guys, it was a preview, and he's like, you know what? I want to be an actor, but for now I'm waiting tables. And it's like, you're an actor right now. You're at your job. You're filming for your job. So it just feels like that shouldn't have been the platform, because that doesn't make any sense anymore, right? So to me, I don't know, it just felt disingenuous.
Like, call it something new. Like, you're, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even Saved by the Bell, they had like, you know, the next, whatever it was called. I don't know.
The college years.
College years. Yeah. Like, they did different stuff. It's like, you can't call it the exact same thing and just act like nothing happened. They did it with Roni, and I don't think it turned out so well. So.
Sure didn't, because it's on a pause, baby.
I think it's being unpaused. That was some news from BravoCon that they have cast Roni and they are starting to film soon.
And it is filming around Sai, Aaron, and
Jessel, I assume, because those were the 3 that were at BravoCon.
Okay. So it's the 3 of them and then a new cast. And
I'm assuming. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
So, okay. So going back to BravoCon, I mean, I could talk to you about this one interaction for hours, but obviously, you know, we shall move on. But was there anything else super interesting from that meeting with them that you wanted to mention?
No, just they're great.
Okay.
I guess it just really like human, like these are real people, you know, and I've been thinking about how we treat the Bravo celebrities and like kind of treat them like zoo animals, and, you know, everyone pushing people out of the way to meet, you know, and it's like, at the end of the day, these are real people. They have real families. They have real feelings. I felt that a lot when West posted like on the flight home that he was like scrolling social media and someone wrote something not nice about him. And he said he was just like, imagine spending 3 days like giving it your all, doing everything for fans, and then like read this. And it's like he really did so much. They went out of their way. I can't imagine how exhausting it must be to be them.
To be on for 3 days straight because of exact situations like that. God forbid you're not on for 2 seconds and you meet a fan who's like, he was a dick.
This
and
wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. It was like, I didn't see him.
Oh.
Maybe he wasn't interacting with fans. It's like, just because you didn't see him, I didn't see Kyle Richards. That doesn't mean she wasn't there.
Right.
Right? Like,
right. I mean,
like, why would you post something? I think people are so frivolous with what they post, and they also like to get engagement, and they'll say things about people as if they're characters. I'm guilty of it too, right? Like, we feel like these are characters on a show that are like written, as opposed to real people that have real feelings that will see what you write if you have a big enough following or if you tag them. And
right.
I don't know, it just makes me feel a little bit more empathetic to them. And
Sure.
And I'm just like, if anyone had any off moment or anything, which I didn't, like everyone was lovely. But I did feel like, for example, Vicky felt a little stiff. That was like the one word I could use to describe her. And it turns out she had surgery a week prior, literally 7 days earlier. She had some rupture or something with her breast implant that was a problem. And the doctor was like going to be out. And so he was like, you got to go under the knife now. And so no wonder she was standing so stiff. She had I think
she
bandages and stuff.
Stiff.
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, oh, that's weird. Maybe she's
interesting?
Uncomfortable. I didn't realize it was like she was physically uncomfortable and like in pain and not wanting to take pain meds. And so Christian told Christian Gray Snow, who's her podcast host, who's lovely, he was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. She's like in so much pain. And she's like not going to complain to anyone. She's smiling. And then it was really nice to meet like her boyfriend and her brother and her sister-in-law. And like, those are real people in her lives that she's close to that are fun and kind and kind of like along for the journey, just to be there to watch out for her. Right?
Sure. Right. And I think it's interesting what you're saying is too, seeing the families and the friends, it like humanizes these people.
Yeah. I think
that
the
we
family
see
is
as
really
characters.
It really does it for me. I mean, meeting Vicky's boyfriend, it was just kind of like he didn't really know what he was getting into, right? Like he didn't know about all this stuff. This isn't like his world. But he's there and he's happy to support her and whatever she, but he was like so chill, so like the opposite, I think, of like a lot of the husbands that become thirsty or the boyfriends that are thirsty. He wasn't trying to get photo. Like he was just like there in the background to like hold her stuff. And we ended up getting a photo with him because we're like, we had so much fun chatting with him. He was so nice. He was like, they said we were from DC. And he was like, oh God, like how was the shutdown on you guys? How did it affect you? And he said something about like, I hope next time they should just like put them all in a room and not pay them and they can't leave till they figure it out.
Boom. That's amazing.
I loved it. I was like,
I mean, that's so smart, number one. But number two, I am grateful that Vicky finally got it right with a guy.
He seems really like not into fame at all.
Which is exactly what she needed. And here's the thing. I'm not going to lie. I'm not happy for Vicky to come back. I think personally that's a poor decision. She is under investigation for elder abuse, which is like, what are we doing here? But it seems, do you feel excited that she'll be back? Were you happy to see that?
I'm really excited. I feel like her being back is more likely to let them allow Tamara to leave. Because like, how else will you get her out? And I'm really over Tamara being on the show.
Same.
There's nothing authentic about her. Everything is a game to her. Everything's a chess move. She doesn't have any real friendships other than Teddy. Everyone else is just a like ally. It's not even like they're real friends. And watching Gina and Emily interact, even how they interacted with Vicky, you can tell that they're friends.
Oh, you can tell that Emily and Gina genuinely care about these people. It's not just a job. They're not just coworkers.
But they have them with Vicky. I was like, oh, they like are fond of her. They have a fondness for her. They giggle when she does something silly. They, and I was like, I would rather see those kinds of interactions than like the fake stuff that Tamara does, where I feel like she doesn't let people be themselves anymore. And with Vicky, like, I haven't seen any indictments, like, for her.
Oh, and fair. Like, I'm not saying there have been indictments, but it has definitely been allegations and things like that, which obviously I don't know the full story on and aren't set in stone, but I just don't like her in many ways, especially kind of things we've heard her say about the LGBTQ community and things like that. It has annoyed me, but that you can't paint someone with a brush and say that makes her a bad person. I don't think that. I just don't happen to love it. But what I was saying before is you and I had texted about this, and I was upset because I thought her coming back meant they would keep Tamara. But your theory was that this will allow them to have her kind of gracefully exit. So we'll have
and
to
you
see.
won't feel the absence in the same way because she is such a
Mm.
presence. Also, I think like her ego was so
She
bruised.
is.
And
Yeah.
I think the main problem with her is she started to think she was the show and she needed
Yes.
to leave and she needed to be fired for her to realize that like life goes on. And for her, life did go on, right? She met a new guy. She had a new relationship. She has, all this stuff with her kids. She's very close with them. She continued to work. And then, whereas when Tamara was fired, her entire life fell apart. She was a mess. She said she like
you're
couldn't get out of
right.
bed. She was, and so it's like with Vicky, she has an actual full life with or without the show and is friendly with these women with or without the show. That's what I want to see. And with regards to the LGBTQ community, all I know is that she platformed someone who is a member of that community when she could have chosen any other podcast host. And she has Christian, a fan of hers that like she met and she was like, no, you're my real friend. I really feel like I can be myself with you, that you're not judging me, that we can have, and they were together the entire weekend. He's like a member of the family. He's so close with her. And it's very sweet. They have this like very sweet friendship that I find really like fun to watch as someone who knows him, but not her,
And those are such good points. And I do appreciate you bringing that up because at the end of the day, we can't get so entrenched in our views that we don't look at what's really happening. And, for her and Christian to have such a kinship and, that's a good point that I didn't, think about. So I appreciate you sharing that. So who all did you meet there aside from the people that you've already mentioned?
I met Bronwyn, met Vicky, Gina, Emily, Angela from Atlanta, Bud from Married to Medicine, met TJ and Bradley and Leva from Southern Hospitality. Oh my God, why is this so hard? Sierra, I met Sierra before, but I met her again. From Summer House.
Is she like just as gorgeous in person?
Yeah, she's like very thin, but like looks like that's just the way she was made, if that makes any sense. Whereas like no one else looks like they were made that way. They look like they were trying to be thin, where she just, I think, just is.
By GLP-1s, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's just like, that's why she is a model, right? Like, I think she's just naturally, she's so pretty.
Yeah, she's just genetically gifted, man. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Oh, I met Erica Jane Sutton.
Oh. Wait, did you see the news about Erica Jane? There was news that her lawyer was embezzling money. Hold on, now I have to look. You didn't see this. Okay, now I have to look this up. As we talk about it, I will find it. Of all of those people who you've met while I'm looking for this, what was your experience? Were there people who, and I'm not asking us to talk bad about someone, but like, were there people who it was disappointing or people who you were pleasantly surprised by? Like, either way.
Very pleasantly surprised by Mia from Southern Hospitality. She was just like very personable and was just chatting with people in the lounge. And I don't know, she was great. I met Michaels, had a long conversation with him about, his experience with his family and coming out on the show and not having the support. And then now it sounds like on this upcoming season, things change and he actually is now much closer with his mom, which is amazing. But he told us that before the panel. He was like, no, like I just talked to my mom. You're going to see her on this upcoming season. I thought the Southern Hospitality cast was very just like normal people, kind of. Like they were kind of shocked that they were there, which I loved.
I do appreciate that in a group. Like you can tell there are certain franchises that they're like, this is my life and I'm the queen bee. And then I strongly believe that the reason why Next Gen New York was such a smash hit is all those kids on the show had humility and they were like, well, who am I? No one cares about this. It's the people, to me, when they buy their own bag of bullshit, to me, they lose their humility and they just become, I'm just not as interested. But I feel like when you're a show like that I think maybe doesn't get the credit that it deserves, right? That show gets lost in a lot of like Bravo stuff. I could see them being like, why are we here?
I'm trying to remember. Now, I also met Katie Janela and her husband, Tom
Oh.
Sandoval and his girlfriend, Jesse and West, pretty briefly. They were very friendly. And I'm just trying to remember. It's hard.
Well, it's like you had bazillion hours of memories and you're just trying to sift through them all. Okay, so there was an article that it was November 19th. There's a designer that is suing Erica and her longtime friend and attorney, James Wilkes. They say
Is
Erica
the designer
Wilkes,
Marco?
No, Christopher Celia.
Company Marco? Because there's this like long lawsuit with where she like didn't pay for all of the cost.
No, this says though, Erica and Wilkes falsely accused them of charging more than $800,000 on Erica's American Express card between 2014 and 2016. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, this is
okay.
That.
All right. Interesting. And then also it's alleging that the lawyer suggested she split from Tom to protect herself, which is like file that under no freaking doy. But anyway.
Oh, I remember more people. Rachel Zoe and Dorit and Aaron Leachy and Lindsay Hubbard.
My gosh, you really got a good sampling of people.
Yeah.
So did you like wait in a line to see them, or were you just like
sometimes? So like with Jesse and Wes, there was no line. They were brought to the wrong place. There was like a installation where you could get like a video and pictures taken of you in a bed, like the bed bugs from Summer House.
Oh yeah,
and so someone was bringing them to film content, and they brought them there, but it turns out they were needed at a different booth, and so they were just trying to figure out where they were supposed to go, and they were just standing there, and you could like dress up in pajamas, including like what West wore for that like bedtime party. And someone who's wearing the same pajamas and like looks at him and was like, hey, how do I pull it off? You know, they were like, it was really funny. But then, for example, with Erica Jane, we like waited in line for a photo with her. So that was like a different type of a thing. Some of them we saw like off hours, places.
Right. Were there any panels that took place? I don't know how that all works, but like, do you like go to watch some of the panels? Do you get to pick what you get to see? And then, okay, so tell me about that.
I went to a lot of the panels. They were not as good this year, I think, as previous years. I think sometimes they try to get people to moderate who have connections with Bravo somehow, but like aren't actually good. I think the best moderators were Casey and Danielle from Bitch Sesh, Danny Pellegrino.
Love them.
And Rachel Lindsay. Those were who also Essie Cup was really good. There was an editors panel that was good. Yeah. That was really interesting. But I thought that the Salt Lake panel was the most fun, and that was so funny because they weren't allowed to talk about the current season. So I was like, oh my God, how are they going to do this? Well, Casey and Danielle kept showing these hilarious clips and then like asking them really funny questions, and they were making fun of each other, and it was very fun, and there's shade through, you know what I mean? But they were all like so themselves. I think my favorite moment of that was in the audience. There was a trans person who was asking them to do the chant of protect the dolls, especially because Bronwyn's been so outspoken about especially trans rights. And like everyone was doing it, and Mary looked just like confused. She like had no idea what was going on. It was the best. Like it was like what dolls? What, you know what I mean? Like she's just like, what are we doing? You know, she kind of looked around like and Angie looked a little confused too. But it was like Heather and Whitney and, you know, Bronwyn like definitely knew what was up. And Meredith, you know what I mean? Like it was so funny. They were just like so themselves in that moment. Yeah.
Well, that must have been nice to see. You know,
that was great.
Authentic moment. It's so on brand for Mary and Angie to be like confused Bobbsey twins. But was there anything that from all the panels that you went to, was there anything that really stuck out to you that was like super surprising? Or I don't know, that's something that just, yes, tell me.
The Traders panel. Sierra was on, and Danny Pellegrino was mainly asking questions about traders, but then there'd be someone like Robin Dixon on the panel who hasn't been on TV in a little bit. And he, you know, they would also like mix up things like who on your cast do you think would really be good on this show? You know, do you think they'd be a faithful or a good traitor? You know, those kind of questions. And then he just hit it over the head where he was like, what's going on with Kyle and Amanda? Is he a faithful? And she was so taken aback by the question that like no amount of media training could have prepared her. And she just was like, aren't we supposed to be talking about traitors? And then she like looked at him like, Danny, kind of like, and he's like, I'm a man of the people. We're asking this is what the people want to know. And you know that question was approved because they can't ask anything that's not approved. Part of me is like, oh, did that story break? And they were like pissed that they didn't get a heads up. And so they, I don't know.
But for those listening, I want to explain the story was that Kyle and Amanda were living separately because of infidelity on his part. Allegedly, that was right. That was the story.
I don't think there was ever any infidelity that was listed.
Okay, so it was just that they were living separately.
Separately because they were not getting along or whatever it was. And that made me be like, oh, wow, they're definitely in rough waters, like, possibly breaking up because why would she be so... She like didn't have a response. And then she was like, as far as I know, he's been a faithful.
Which, and as you said, if the story didn't include infidelity, then she could answer that question without...
Yeah, she was kind of, I think, confused and also like, why are you bringing up these two people? Like, I am not in that mindset right now. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're in a really bad place because I don't think they even shared a hotel room for BravoCon.
Because they were both at BravoCon, right?
Yes, and it did not appear that they were sharing a hotel room together because he did an Instagram story where the other side of his bed was made and he was in his hotel room.
Well, eagle-eyed Mandy Slutsker there.
No, someone else told me that, and then I went.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, thank you.
I am not eagle-eyed. I am not. I do not notice most things.
But it's so much to take in, too, so that it's like, it must feel like you're filtering all this information. I wasn't even there, and that's how I feel. It's like there's so much content, social media, on camera, off camera. Like it's, you know, it's just a lot to get lost in all of that. Well, that's super interesting. Was there anything else that stuck out to you from any of the panels?
Just how awkward it was between Kyle and Amanda when they were on the Summer House panel seated next to each other. It just did not feel... I was shocked at how amicable Carl and Lindsay were.
You know, I did see that was one of the few social media things that I saw where he was on stage and then she came up and they both looked genuinely happy to see each other. And they had, you know, it did remind you of the time that they were such good friends because there is something about those two that they do really seem to have a connection.
Yeah, I think he is like over the moon for her that she became a mom. And I think she is so happy that he is sober and started this soft bar. Like, I think they're genuinely happy for each other. And I think that given time, they could work their way back to being like actual friends. I really do. Especially after winning. Like, she's in such a good place. She's so happy being a mom. She's like glowing, you know? She's just happy.
She does. I've never seen her look better because to me, nothing looks better on someone than happiness, like true, authentic happiness. And you can tell she's not in a relationship that doesn't serve her. She's playing the best role of her life, which is mom, and she's always wanted to do that. And there's a spinoff, that was officially announced.
I heard there's going to be like something with her, and I think Kyle and Amanda and Lexi and Andrea. That's what I heard, but
Lindsay Hubbard, Kyle Cook, and Amanda Batula are all set to appear, which, by the way, is so wild if they are really in this state, you know, that, wow, we might be getting that filmed right now.
I thought it was more of a story, like, I don't know, to generate press. Like, at one point I was like, maybe this is not, and then I was like, oh no, this is real. I can feel it in the room.
Sure, right.
You know?
And that's what I trust. Like, you were there, but also like, I am not surprised because I just feel like they've evolved to want different things. She now wants to maybe not be a mom. He really wants kids. And I think there's fundamentally some things that I was like, but if these aren't resolved, they're going to...
He says he wants kids, but then he's become a DJ and he does DJ gigs all over. And they're really late. And you can't be like in the middle of the night DJing and like your wife at home feeding the baby. Like, that's just not... conducive.
Well, that's
like you
what I'm
become a
saying. I think
DJ
that's
when
the
you're done with
problem.
kids, like Meredith Marks.
Right.
You know, he says
Right.
he wants kids, but then he's not taking any steps to actually create
Yeah.
a life where he could have them.
Right. So I think that's one huge part of the problem, and but I can't wait to see the spinoff and all of that. Anything else from BravoCon? Anything else interesting?
No, but
that you
tune
wanted to
in
mention?
to my podcast on Sunday, November 23rd, because I will have a lot more to share with my friend Jody. We went together and we have some tea to spill.
Okay. Well, I'll be tuning in because I definitely want to hear that tea. Nothing you can mention here, Mandy?
No.
Okay, fine. Fine, fair enough. Listen, everyone, I tried, okay? They would have been mad if I didn't at least ask. From the cast, though, like from who you observed, who seemed to have the most, I don't know, like real dynamics with each other?
Madison and Austin.
Isn't that so funny?
Like you could see them like looking at each other and laughing and like making like they're on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just from watching the panel. I didn't like meet them up close, but because I was
Sure.
in VIP, we got up really close with the panel. So you could actually like see their body language. Very like platonic, but very just like giggly, kind of like friends.
Sure. They had the Bravos or whatever that I had watched. It was like one of the things that aired, and they were nominated for like best twosome or some sort of like dynamic duo.
I saw that.
And it was so interesting because they didn't win, but you could tell they looked at each other and they were both pissed, but like in a funny way. You know what I mean? They were like, "Oh man." And I thought to myself, I'm like, they are proof that sometimes when you try to fit a square peg into a round hole, it's a disaster. But when you let a relationship be what it's supposed to be, it can actually be quite a beautiful thing. I just feel like they have such a kinship, but they weren't meant to be romantically linked.
Totally. And he even said, like, wait, like we could have just been this way the whole time.
Right.
Like my best friend was here the whole time.
For real.
Yeah.
For real. So I definitely see that for them. And I'm just so happy that Madison has her family. And by the way, Southern Charm premieres. We're recording this as of Wednesday and it's premiering tonight. Bapa-doo. I am very excited. I cannot wait. And so I can't wait until our next M&M hour. We'll be able to talk about that.
Yes, for sure.
But for now, so in the last couple minutes, let's talk a little bit about, because you watched Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And the last episode of Salt Lake was so bonkers to me. So
good. It's literally the best show on television. Every time I watch, I'm like, this is the best episode. Like every single episode. I'm like, this is so good.
Yes, a lot of people are feeling that way. That's what someone commented on my Instagram. They're like, this was the best episode ever. And I was like, I mean, Salt Lake really is firing on all cylinders. But what's so crazy is that we're seeing Mary have this introduction back to her church as this docuseries is about to come out in January about her being a cult leader. And Mandy, I don't know how I feel about that because I have really come around on Mary, as you know.
Okay, here's my question though. Would a cult leader really close the doors on their church for 2 years, or would they find another place to do it?
Listen, that's a good question, but I can say it depends because the one thing I can say about cult leaders is self-preservation is very important to them. And they can't persevere if they're caught for things. And so listen, I don't know if you remember this. I did an episode. It was all the way back in season 1 that was called There's Something About Mary Cosby. And I did a full deep dive on the church and her family and all that stuff. And unfortunately, there was a video Up and Up with Adam. He did a interview with Mary's mom. And Mary's mom has since passed because she said in the Salt Lake episode, which was really sad, that she was not invited to the funeral, which I mean, that just broke my heart. This is her mother. This is terrible that the church came in between them. So if anyone's interested, go back and listen to that. So you're saying you feel like it's What are you saying? What do you feel about Mary?
I
That
don't
it's not necessarily
I don't
true?
know. There's been like rumors, but there's never been any definitive like, hey, this has happened. Here's a real lawsuit where they are liable for something and I have all of the proof set up. It seems I don't know. This is like a terrible analogy, but you know how people are like, oh, Janet's super manipulative on the Valley?
Mm-hmm.
But like people are allowing themselves to get manipulated.
Right. Yes,
You know what I
but
mean?
then
Like,
I do. Because it's then when it comes to cult stuff, though, you come into the psychology of manipulation and things like that, that I see what you're saying. But I also think that with this sort of stuff, you and I both know that you can be doing something like this and not have any active lawsuits because it's hard to prove, especially
yeah.
like the psychological, like
But the stuff that they're talking about, there has to be more proof than just this like rumors, right? Like it's just there has to be more if that's really what's going on. What I don't know a lot about is like Black churches, truly. And, you know, I've talked to Taria, who does What Else Is Going On podcast, and she explained to me a lot of different customs within a Black church would be considered, you know, very inappropriate in a different kind of church. But in a Black church is customary to like, you know, gather money or shower a speaker with money, like a lot of money. You know, because it's like, why would a preacher, like, I think it's unusual to see someone who is a member of the clergy wearing fashionable things that cost a lot of money, because usually clergy don't get paid that much and their like devotion is to God and not to material things. And I'm not saying you can't like material things and like, but that was kind of odd to me. But then I guess in like the Black community, that's not necessarily like a thing, as much of a thing. Like there's just things that are so customary that people know if you were raised in like an AME church or an, you know, a different, any kind of like Episcopal. And so part of me is like, oh God, is this going to be a bunch of like white people, talking heads who don't know her, who are repeating rumors about a Black church when they've never really spent time inside Black churches? Like I'm a little nervous about that.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think that's a fair point, and I think it's fair to be concerned about there needs to be appropriate people speaking to this, not just a bunch of white talking heads kind of, you know, making judgments about a culture that they're not informed about.
Yeah.
But I also think that, you know, what I know for sure is that when you put yourself in a position of power, I think it's always appropriate to ask why. Why do you want this power and what are you doing with it? And it becomes a fine line when it comes to religious cults, because sometimes there's not a lot of manipulation or assuaging that has to go on. Sometimes it's like, well, if this is what's expected, you just need to do this. And then I think that gets people into like financially into a spot where it's like, well, they're not being asked, but they feel like it's a necessary custom where they're going to be cast out if they don't, right? So it's like there's such shades of gray within all this. But what I like about you and I appreciate is that you're always looking at every angle and asking questions. And I think we do really need to do that because Mary has become such a voice of reason. She seems so legitimately spiritually connected now in a way that I don't think she did before. I think sometimes we have to go through things in our life, like what she's going through with Robert Jr., that humble us and that teach us that we don't know as much as we thought we did. So what I have an open mind about is where is she at now with that? Not where was she before, but where is she at now? Because what I saw on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City seemed very sincere, seemed very beautiful, very connected. And all of that money renovating that church, and they did not put in AC. That is wild. That's a wild thing,
Did
man.
they not, or did they not turn it on because it was like the wrong season to have AC?
I don't know. Either way, I was
know what I mean?
Why is
like
everyone sweating to death? You were just renovated. Where's your new HVAC?
I didn't. Okay, so maybe this is like really shady, but it does not look any different than I remember it looking from before. Like, I was like,
I
what
swear to you,
renovation?
Mandy, I feel the same way.
I was like, what renovation? How could you be closed for 2 years? Like, what were you like relaying the foundation?
But this is what I mean about the shadiness of this, right? You closed up shop for 2 years. It doesn't look that different. So it's like, were you doing that to kind of like dampen down some heat on you? I don't know. I'm keeping an open mind with support for Mary because I see her every week. The things that she has to say about Robert Jr.'s addiction, which, you know, he's back, he's relapsed and he's been arrested, and, you know, relapse is a part of recovery. So I'm just cheering him on as he hopefully finds his way back to recovery. But she showcases such amazing skills that I don't want to believe that she would do these terrible things. But the fact is that all humans are capable of doing terrible things. We are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I also think it's weird. Was she not practicing during this time? Because, you know, when I was a child, our synagogue underwent a renovation when I was very young. And I remember we went to a different community center for services. So, you know, or a pipe burst, and then you do it somewhere else. You don't just like stop
Mandy,
worshiping just because the building is not being used.
We belonged to a Catholic church growing up that they were doing renovations, and then we had church in a high school gym. Literally, we were in a gym. So that's also a good point, but speaks to what I'm saying. It's like, it seems like she ducked for cover for 2 years, and I want to know why. Is that real, or am I just misinterpreting that? Because that seems really odd to me. But listen, TBD. So with Salt Lake, off the top of your dome, what are some, you know, things that stood out to you, stuff that really, like, I don't know. What do you think?
I think all the Bronwyn and Todd stuff and Bronwyn sharing about her marriage is really interesting, especially when he got so mad. I didn't feel like she was really talking about their sex life to Whitney. Maybe there was more that she said. She wasn't like talking about what they do in the bedroom. She was talking about, you know, maybe he has other interests and maybe I would be open to him, you know, having more of an open marriage or whatever it is, like some sort of agreement. That didn't feel like anyways, he took it very bad and he was kind of like, no, that shouldn't go anywhere beyond our walls. And she's like, but it's important for me to be able to talk to my friends and for them to be able to relate and say, you know, I've been there too. I think he has control issues with her. Major.
Major, girl, major.
And he's so dismissive of when she's crying. It feels exactly like when she must have been a child crying and her mom showing literally like no emotion or any sort of ability to console. Yeah, that is very weird. Also, the Lisa and John Barlow stuff. It's like she's refusing to hear him and he is being very articulate. He's saying, you know, were you telling Henry your thoughts or were you telling Henry how to think? And then he said he laughed when she said she was a great listener.
She actively overtalked him when he was talking, but saying she's a good listener. And I was like, you're doing it right now. What?
And he was pointing that out, and she was just like unable to take it in. That was weird. And then the Britney and Jared stuff was like, fuck up. I was like, this is exactly how I remember certain relationships in like middle school and high school. This is not how adults behave. When adults behave this way, one person needs to exit and one person has to determine that it's time to exit. It's not cute. It's not funny. I didn't like seeing him at BravoCon. I didn't like that she kissed him at BravoCon. Like, I didn't like any of it. I don't care that he's your friend. You should completely cut him out of your life.
Boom.
And he should cut her.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Mandy, I could write a clinical dissertation on that one scene. I'm not joking. The thing that stood out to me the most that I wanted to mention is that, so Jared, what I noticed, he drops his voice an octave when he's on camera. And that is something that people do with certain personality types. They do to manage impressions because I think he wants to be seen as very manly. And so he drops his voice and he speaks in this deep, reasonable voice. But what he's saying is so egregious when he was like, I need you to be stable for 5 minutes. I'm like, that elicits never talking to him again. That Britney should have been like, give me my shit, deuces, don't call me anymore. But they have what you so eloquently said is like a middle school toxic addiction to each other. They're addicted to the crying, the fighting, the anger. I hate you. I love you. It's apparent to me that it's toxic garbage, what they have.
It's so
absolutely
messed
gross.
up. I don't know where it is along like people's development where they think, oh, well, we love hard, but we fight hard. Like that only happens when you really love someone. I'm like, no, actually, that's not true. You can have disagreements without everyone ending up in tears. And that can be very deep love. It's very, the whole thing was weird. And I actually, when he said, like, I'm looking for someone stable, I was like, great, she's not the one. So stop with her. You know, I thought he had a really good point. I don't think she's stable.
But here's the thing. Then what does that say about him?
Both of them are the same.
And mind your business. Right. That's what I'm saying. He is just doing the same things as her, but trying to gaslight in real life and being like, you're unstable, which, by the way, the other thing I did not like. Well, and fair, she's not, but someone who loves you is not supposed to say that or hold that opinion of you, number one. Number two, he weaponized therapy speak, which tells me he's a complete douche. He said something like, you freeze, flee, and run. And it's like, first of all, that's wrong, what you're saying. And second of all, you're taking therapy speak and you're weaponizing it, which nothing makes me more angry than that. I feel he's manipulative. I feel like he's controlling. I cannot stand him. And I don't like that he was at BravoCon. But Britney should be embarrassed at this point that she continues to choose this man over her children.
Although her child was at BravoCon, and that's who she spent the most time with. Yeah.
Oh,
Olivia
good.
was there.
Okay.
And like people were like seeing them together all the time. And I think she didn't want to be like as public, the daughter, like going in all of the places. But yeah, she was there. I think she stayed in Britney's room.
Super happy to hear that. Okay, because really, Britney needs to be with her kids, leave Jared, and she should be embarrassed at this point to be staying with someone who talks to you. I mean, and if this is what he's saying in a 5-minute snippet, imagine what he's already said to her all these years, what he says to her off camera. I mean, it's totally insane.
And the other person that brought their daughter, who was like kind of who I didn't see anywhere, was Shannon Bedore's oldest. Sophie was with her the whole time, I guess. I heard that like, and they have these cute pictures where like that was her guest for the tapings of Watch What Happens Live. And you know what I mean? That was the person who was hanging out backstage. So I thought that was very sweet.
That is sweet. Shannon seems to have such a lovely relationship with her girls, which is really beautiful. And Archie Bedore won. There was like the best, like,
the best pet
or whatever.
Yeah, that was so good.
Come on, Archie. That's like Bronwyn's dog is fine, Cha-Cha's fine, but I mean Archie Bedore is just a literal icon. So
such an icon.
So before we wrap up, any other things that you wanted to mention about Salt Lake? Any of the other series? Anything else?
Okay, so I really liked the party that they threw for Britney. I thought it was so funny, and I thought she handled it in good stride. When Angie was like, thought it would be really fun to like make high body count hair, and like, I think she would find it funny. And then they did. That was so fun. I loved it. I loved the like stuffed animal making station. Like all of it was. I love that Mary didn't write a note. Or didn't like share a note. But it turns out that Mary and Britney got into an argument on the boat, and Britney told Mary, "You're the least Christ-like person I've ever met in my entire life," which is a really nasty thing to say to someone whose like whole life is about Christ. I think Britney says really mean things because she's like feels insulted, and then she feels she has to fight back. Like that's what she did with sharing the stuff about Meredith. Also, by the way, like, I do not think Seth cheats on Meredith. Like, I think he's literally obsessed with her. At BravoCon, she was DJing. And by the way, I think she just like presses a set like that somebody else put together. I know she does. I found out who the person was that does her set. But he's sitting there and he's like, if you know the words, sing along. And it was like, my heart will go on to like a club beat. It was so funny.
Oh, jeepers.
And he's just like hyping her up. Like he's so into her. He's like staring at her, like how great she is. And she's just like, You know, it was
Which
so
makes
funny.
it so I agree with you, and I hear what you're saying, and I do agree, and that's what makes her reaction so ridiculous, because it's like, you made me think I thought at first it was silly, and then her reaction made me think it was true, and I don't think it is true, but your reaction was so giant that you made yourself look ridiculous.
I think she's so upset because, you know, other people on the show, their husbands have had major impacts from them being on, like Justin and Whitney, right? He lost his job because of Seth. Like, I think because Seth has a real corporate job, she's very worried about his reputation and knows that once something is out there, it like is really damaging. And like, she's very protective of her family. She's very mama bear. She's like, you're going after my family. Like, it
Yes.
felt very protective. And I think that she took a sleeping pill and drank a lot and actually does not remember how she behaved truly, which
Someone
more sense.
said that on my Yeah, they said that on Instagram. They were like, I think she took a Xanax or something, and like, obviously, I'm not gonna, I can't, I don't know.
We don't know, but
People have something
made enough
happened
references
clearly.
to it on the show that they're like, maybe she took a sleeping pill and like whatever it is, something is very off. And I wish that there was footage to be able to tell her. I heard a rumor that she had actually gotten suspended after this event. But then
She was
investigate
back.
briefly, but I have no idea.
Okay. Well, all I can say is we better see some receipts at the reunion, because production was sitting in the first class cabin with all the cast, and everyone has a iPhone, I'm sure, or some sort of recording device. And if there is not some sort of something about this, I swear I'm going to lose my mind, because that makes me crazy. Mandy, thank you so much for taking time out of your very stressful and busy life of being a badass bitch at work and just, you know, crushing things. So thank you so much for sharing this with me, with everyone else. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say on Sunday. I will be tuning in, so please tune in as well. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at Mandy Slutsker on Instagram, and you can also listen to my podcast, Is This Real Life, with Mandy Slutsker, anywhere that you find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. I don't know what all the things are.
There's too many at this point. And then this is just a nice little bonus, but we're doing an M&M hour, in 2 weeks? At this
think
point?
Yeah.
We're doing Yeah. So y'all can look forward to that. Please check Mandy out. Is This Real Life with Mandy Slutsker? I can't wait to hear all that tea. And then obviously check me out on Instagram, Your Bish Therapist. I am going to be bringing the podcast back. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell is happening with my life. So TBD. I may air this, you know, like later. I don't know. So I'm going to figure it out, Mandy, but we'll figure it out together. So thank you, everyone, for listening and watching this, because now on Spotify, you can do videos. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, thank you for watching. If you're listening, thank you for listening. And can't wait to bring you another M&M Hour soon. Goodbye, everybody. Disclaimer. Posts are not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide medical advice. Your Bish Therapist is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The podcast, my opinions, and posts are my own and not associated with past or present employers, any organizations, Bravo TV, Greyheart Productions, or any other television network. The information in YBT podcast and on its social media is provided for general informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat. Please do not act or refrain from acting based on anything you read, see, or hear on YBT podcast or associated social media. Communicating with YBT via email and or social media does not form a therapeutic alliance. Melissa, operator of YBT, is unable to provide any therapeutic advice, treatment, or feedback.